Hello everyone and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The bold and the beautiful spoilers are in for Thursday, September 18th, 2025. In tomorrow's episode, Luna Nozawa, Lisa Yamada, is expected to take advantage of the pregnancy test. But what does this signify for Luna and Will Spencer's crew Moro, future now? Continue reading to learn more about what will happen in the next episode of CBS's soap drama. Check out our weekly B&B spoilers here. Luna Nozawa's pregnancy play. Let's begin with Luna, who took a pregnancy test at Remy Price, Christian Weissman, and Deke's Harrison Cohn apartment. However, Luna was unable to read the results since Deke booted her out. Then she was going to read them at Lee Finnegan's, Naomi Matsuda, house. However, she was ambushed by Bill Spencer, Don Diamont, Katie Logan, Heather Tom, Will, and Lee. Luna's handbag dropped right as they were going to haul her back to prison. The pregnancy test was one of the items that was dropped. That test yields a positive result. Will Spencer's horror if sleeping with Luna wasn't terrifying enough, now his issues have grown exponentially. What will do now that Luna has a positive pregnancy test? How does he tell Electra Forrester, Linnea Grace, about this while also informing her that a baby is on the way? In real reality, they could imprison Luna and then take the baby after it was born if they wanted. However, this is probably the writer's attempt to keep Luna on the canvas. Will, Bill, and Katie will most likely need to decide what to do with the baby. Bill Spencer's new problem. The bold and the beautiful spoilers for Thursday, September 18th reveal that Bill intended to return Luna to prison. However, having an innocent baby involved could complicate matters. Will Bill imprison her till she gives birth? Will they try to force her to have an abortion? Watch this. Bold and beautiful 2-week spoilers, September 15th to 26th. Finn's fury and Carter's crushing betrayal. Electra Forrester suspicious. Later this week, Electra prepares a romantic surprise for Will. However, with Luna and the forbidden kid on his thoughts, he may not be feeling romantic. If Will does not tell Electra the truth, she will find out. However, what Electra believes is truly going on may be very different from the truth. Hope Logan, Annika Noel, must make a major decision about Carter Walton, Lauren St. Victor, and Liam Spencer, Scott Clifton. Which narrative are you most looking forward to witnessing on Thursday, September 18th, 2025? Share your opinions in the comments area below. Continue to watch the soap on CBS or Paramount Plus to find out what happens next. Luna picked up the pregnancy test off the floor and proudly displayed it to Will at Lee's flat. "I am pregnant with your child, Will," she exclaimed. Bill, Lee, and Katie assured her that a bogus pregnancy test would not keep her out of jail. Luna announced to the stunned audience that she would provide her baby with everything she lacked as a child. She expressed her joy at having a baby with the man she loved. Will informed her that she had shot his brother and deserved to be imprisoned. "Well, you'll feel better after you meet our baby," Luna assured, adding that Bill and Katie would feel the same way. Bill had heard enough and began dragging Luna out the door. She requested Lee for help, but she declined. Luna did not want to go to jail, yet she couldn't stop smiling. "It is real. Will, I am having your baby," she exclaimed cheerfully as Bill yanked her out the door. After they left, Katie reasoned that Luna had previously fabricated test results and needed to discover the truth. Will regretted the party even more. He wondered if Luna was speaking the truth about her pregnancy. Will regretted not telling Electra about the party night and realized he needed to do so immediately. He despised the idea of shattering Electra's heart, but he knew he had to tell her the truth. In the design office, Electra kept talking to Hope about her connection with Will. She couldn't wait to hear from him, especially since he had been quiet all day. Electra gushed over Will's promotion and the celebration. Hope giggled when her father informed her the people had a great time. Electra explained that she had left the party early and was glad she had waited until the following night to take their relationship to the next level. She showed Hope the necklace she made for Will again and expressed her love for her boyfriend. Electra went on to talk about how they have overcome obstacles and continue to become stronger. She stated that she and Will had formed a solid commitment. She believed they might have a real life together with such a strong foundation of trust. Later, alone, Luna had flashbacks about the first time she and Will met, kissed, and made love. At Il Giardino, Sheila had flashbacks to her chats with Electra about her love for Will. Deacon interrupted her thoughts, wanting to know what she was thinking. He imagined she was thinking about her grandchildren. Sheila recognized he was referring about Hayes but replied, "Yeah, I was thinking about my grandchild." Lee entered and whispered to Sheila that Luna had left. She claimed that Bill, Katie, and Will showed up, and Bill simply took her away. At the Spencer mansion, Bill pushed Luna into the foyer. She questioned why he took her there rather than jail. He told her he demanded answers, no more lies, and that if she called the cops, they would drag her ass out of here. Bill accused her of lying about the pregnancy, but she claimed he and Katie would become grandparents. Bill didn't believe her, but Luna remained firm. Bill made it plain that if she was pregnant, she would step up and do the right thing by having an abortion. Luna sat on the side of her bed, her small hands holding a worn-out plush rabbit named Thumper. The room was dimly lit, with barely a sliver of moonlight slipping through the curtain gap. Luna was 7 years old, too little to comprehend the full weight of the world, yet old enough to sense its shadows creeping in. Her mother, Electra, was pacing in the living room again, her voice loud and jagged against the thin walls of their tight apartment. Luna had no idea what suspicious meant, but she'd heard it from her mother's lips far too often today, each syllable filled with venom that made her stomach churn. Downstairs, Bill and Will, the twin brothers who managed the corner store, were coping with their own issues. Their words carried up through the floors, muffled yet frantic, arguing about some new issue that had them both on edge. Luna didn't hear the details, something about missing money or a terrible deal, but their tension crept into her world, adding to the dread she was already feeling. She gripped Thumper tighter, his patchy fur providing a brief respite from the increasing anguish of something she couldn't describe. Luna heard the creak of the front door as Electra's pacing came to an abrupt stop. Her mother was leaving again, most likely to confront someone or find out what was bothering her so much. Luna did not move. She'd learnt to sit still and wait until the hush died down before going out to the kitchen for a drink of water or a slice of bread. Without Electra, the apartment felt empty, but also safer, as if the air was less dense with unsaid accusations. Luna's life hadn't always felt so heavy. Not long ago, her mother would sit with her on the couch and read stories about foreign realms where dragons flew and princesses did not need to be saved. Electra's laugh was warm back then, and her eyes were filled with what Luna later learned was optimism. But hope had a way of slipping through fingers like sand, and Electra had been missing for months. It began when Luna's father departed, packing his suitcase in the middle of the night and leaving a handwritten note on the kitchen table. "I'm sorry," it said, but Luna had no idea what he was sorry about. She just knew the void he left behind, which Electra was determined to fill with skepticism and sharp words. Bill smashed his fist on the counter, causing Luna to flinch. Will's voice followed, quieter yet strained, as he attempted to comfort his brother. The twins were as different as night and day, Bill full of fire and impulse, Will quiet and cautious, but they were united by something more than blood. Luna liked them, despite Bill's occasional scares. When Electra wasn't looking, they would slip her a piece of licorice or a peppermint stick with a wink. But tonight, their voices lacked warmth, instead focusing on the rough edges of an issue that seemed to be growing by the minute. Luna got off the bed and tiptoed to the window, staring down at the street. The neon sign from the brothers' business flickered, casting a sickening glare on the street. She imagined what it would be like to flee, to slip out into the night and find someplace where the air wasn't so heavy. But she was 7, and the world outside was too huge and uncertain. Thumper was her sole friend, his button eyes looking blankly as she expressed her anxieties to him. Electra's suspicion was not new, but it had recently become sharper, like a blade polished from too many restless nights. She didn't trust anyone, not the neighbors, the mailman, or even Bill and Will, who had been good to Luna when no one else had. Electra saw danger in every shadow, her mind creating tales of treachery and deception. Luna had no idea why her mother was so terrified, but she felt it, a chilly current flowing beneath their life. It was why Luna had stopped requesting things like new shoes, a trip to the park, and even hugs. Asking felt like treading on thin ice, and she was tired of the cracks. The twin shouts became louder, and Luna got glimpses of their quarrel. "We can't keep doing this," Bill said. "It's too much." Will's remark was too muffled to hear, but Luna imagined him stroking his temples, as he did when Bill was like this. Whatever their problem was, it felt like a storm developing, with the potential to spill over and flood Luna's realm as well. She wasn't sure how, but she experienced it in the same way that animals detect a shift in the wind. Luna slipped into the kitchen, her bare feet freezing on the linoleum. The fridge was virtually empty, with only half a carton of milk and some wilted vegetables. She sipped water from a cracked glass and sat at the table with Thumper in her lap. The message from her father was still there, nestled beneath a mound of outstanding bills. Luna hadn't touched it since the day he left, but she could still remember his calligraphy, the loops and slants of his apology. She wondered if he felt sad for her, Electra, or for something else entirely. The downstairs door slammed, and Luna froze. It was undoubtedly Bill, storming out to clear his mind. Will would stick behind and pick up the pieces, like he usually did. Luna hoped she could be like Will, steady and quiet, but she felt more like Bill, her heart hammering with words she couldn't express. She wanted to scream, cry, and demand answers from someone, anyone, but she wasn't sure how. So she sat silently, clutching Thumper, while darkness fell. Electra didn't return for hours. Her face paled, and her eyes were red-rimmed. Luna feigned to sleep, watching through half-closed eyes as her mother slid into the couch, her hands quivering. "They're all against me," Electra whispered, her voice scarcely audible. Luna had no idea who they were, but the words felt like stones in her chest. She longed to burrow into her mother's lap and experience the warmth she recalled from earlier, but she remained still. Luna didn't know how to span the abyss that had opened up between them. The following morning, the twins' business was quieter, but the tension remained. Luna noticed Bill scrubbing the sidewalk, his movements quick and aggressive. Will was inside, counting change at the cash register, his shoulders slumping. Luna slipped out to buy some bread, her mother's pennies heavy in her pocket. Will offered her a tired smile, but it did not reach his eyes. "Are you okay, kid?" he inquired, and Luna nodded, though she wasn't. She wanted to inquire about their situation, to see if it was anything she could resolve, but the words stopped in her mouth. Back upstairs, Electra stood at the window, peering down at the street. "They're watching us," she murmured, without turning around. Luna did not inquire who. She placed the bread on the counter and returned to her room, Thumper in her arms. The day went by in a flurry of silence and waiting, the type of waiting that felt like holding your breath underwater. Luna sketched illustrations on scrap paper of dragons, castles, and a family that didn't resemble hers. Electra wondered if her father was out there someplace, living in one of those strange locations from the novels she used to read. That night, the twins' issue became more serious. Luna awoke to shouting in the alley behind the store. She moved to the window, her heart pounding. Bill was standing there, his voice loud and raw, facing a man Luna didn't recognize. Will stood between them, hands outstretched, attempting to maintain the peace. Luna couldn't hear the words, but she noticed the gleam of something in the stranger's hand. A knife, perhaps, or something worse. She wanted to hurry downstairs and help, but her legs wouldn't move. She was simply a girl, little and afraid, with only a teddy rabbit to keep her company. Electra was at the door as Luna turned around, her face a mask of dread and rage. "Stay here," she yelled, clutching her coat. Luna nodded, but as soon as her mother left, she went back to the window. The alley was now empty, and the shouting had stopped, yet the air seemed strange, as if the universe had shifted slightly. Luna waited, her breath misting the glass, but no one returned. Not Bill, Will, or Electra. Morning arrived, bleak and heavy. The store was shuttered, with dark windows. Luna overheard murmurs from her neighbors about a quarrel, a debt, and betrayal. Electra returned silently, her face closed and her hands quivering.
Luna did not ask. She knew better by now.
Instead, she sat on her bed with Thumper in her lap, trying to piece together a coherent story. However, the pieces did not fit together as they did in her paintings or the stories she used to enjoy. Days progressed into weeks, and the flat became quieter. Electra stopped pacing and muttered about suspicion, but the quiet became worse. It was as if she had given up, her fire extinguished. Bill and Will reopened the store, but things were not the same. Bill's rage was vanished, replaced by a hollowness Luna couldn't fathom. Will still smiled at her, but it was a ghost of a smile, thin and fragile. Luna continued to doodle, filling pages with planets she'd never seen. She depicted Thumper as a warrior, herself as a princess, and her mother as a queen wearing a crown of stars. But the stories seemed further away now, like dreams she could scarcely recall. She was 7, but she felt older, burdened by things she couldn't identify. The world was too huge, too heavy, and Luna was simply a girl clutching a toy rabbit and a hope that was sliding away like sand. Bill and Luna went through the silent streets on a night when the lamps flickered softly, like if they, too, were tired of burning. Luna, little and delicate, clutched to his palm, her trust weighing more than anything else. He had promised her safety, but he knew it was just another term people used when they couldn't control the craziness of the world. Every step he took with her felt like a promise he was determined to honor. Lee sat across from Sheila at a small cafe table, his voice low but steady as he revealed the truth. Sheila's gaze wandered as he spoke, and her fingers twisted the edge of a napkin. Lee had always been composed, but that night his words quiver, not because he was uncertain, but because truth often crushed more hearts than falsehoods ever could. He told her what had occurred, what decisions had been made, and what would happen next. Sheila wanted to reject everything, close her ears, and believe that things could go back to normal. However, the night had already taken away their ability to deny reality. Bill carried Luna across the bridge, her head resting on his shoulder. When she asked where they were heading, he simply responded, "Somewhere better." The words tasted terrible. He wished he could mean them. He wanted he could show her a place free of pain, but all he had to offer was his own exhaustion and a heart that refused to give up on her. Luna's trust made him ache. A child's hope could be so absolute, and that was its own tragedy, because hope eventually learns what it is like to be betrayed. Lee's statements continued to disrupt Sheila's peaceful environment. He stressed that the decisions had been made for survival, not cruelty. But her expression ranged between disbelief and despair. "You should have told me sooner," she muttered, her words more like a wound than an accusation. He lowered his sight. The most difficult aspect of carrying truth was seeing it devastate someone who once looked at you with warmth. Bill and Luna had reached the end of the bridge, and he hesitated for a while. The river below was dark, reflecting only shattered pieces of light. He reflected on everything that had led them here, every mistake, promise, and loss. He increased his grip on her. "We'll keep moving," he muttered to himself, rather than to her. She smiled faintly, too young to appreciate the weight of his burden, too naive to realize that sometimes moving forward was the only way to avoid collapse. Sheila couldn't hold back her tears as she glanced at Lee at the cafe. "I don't know if I can forgive you," she confessed. Lee nodded slowly, knowing that forgiveness was never due and that love could not undo the pain of truth. He extended across the table, but she did not accept his hand. Instead, she sat there, her heart gently breaking under the glare of cheap yellow light. So the night held them all, Bill and Luna heading toward an unknown horizon, Lee and Sheila sitting among the ruins of words that could not be unspoken. Each carried a distinct kind of pain, but they were all linked by the weight of choices and the ache of promises that might never be kept.